Thank you.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः.
You can start now.
Thank you. Today, I have special pleasure and honor to introduce Professor Shashibala from New Delhi. And Professor Shashibala is renowned Indologist in Center of Indology in New Delhi of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. If it's correct, tell me please.
Yes.
How is my pronounce this center? And what is important? She is the winner also between most prestigious awards, the most prestigious award of President of Mongolia. Is it correct? Before few
Yes.
months.
Yes.
And today, Professor Shashibala will talk you about intangible and tangible Indian culture. It is our honor.
Thank
Please.
you. Thank you, Professor Tatiana. It's a great pleasure for me to have an opportunity to speak to all the young minds here. I can see some, others I can't see, but I always love to speak to students. It's my pleasure. So I thank the university, I thank the department, I thank Professor Tatiana for organizing this. I took this title, Tangible and Intangible Indian Culture, because if you come to India, if you read something about India in books or on internet, there is something that you can understand, but there are a few things which you need to understand. So if there is somebody who can tell you what is the meaning of this particular whatever, this festival, the ceremony, the ritual, the temples, why we adore different kinds of sculptures and so many things. So without that, I think without that background, it is not easy to understand Indian culture. Indian culture, I'll share my screen so that you can just uh, look at the text also of my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just make it bigger. So we all know that whenever we talk of culture, it's a way of life, how we live, what kind of clothes do we wear, how we behave, how we eat, how we live, and all such things. So it's a very vast topic, as vast as life itself. So it controls all our workings of the mind. In India, we say one becomes what he eats, one becomes what he practices, one becomes what he thinks, what is taught. So everything that happens around us that we study has an impact on our actions coming from our thoughts. All different cultures all over the world, they are different in details. We have our own traditions, our customs, our ideals, our languages, our social, the way of behavior in society is different. Of course, we know about food, dress, games, festivals, etc. A culture serves its purpose when it replenishes the store of its neighbors also, not only of itself. It makes them friends by spreading goodwill and joy and borrowing are a result of their free will and desire. In India, we never put any force on any country, on any land, on any people. Whosoever came to India, whosoever liked Indian culture, they accepted it, they embraced it. That's it. So, with time, anywhere in the world, one's culture becomes its own heritage. Whatever we have received from our forefathers, whatever we replenish them, it becomes our heritage. Life becomes a wonderful privilege when humanity grows and develops together, physically as well as intellectually. Of course, we are born in this world. We need a number of things in our life to satisfy not only the desires but also our expectations, also our necessities. But when I talk about Indian culture, I would say that there are different levels of understanding. One is physical, which you can see when you come to India or study. But there is another that is intellectual, aesthetical, ethical, philosophical, and many others. I would like to say a few words about the word culture. In India, it is called Sanskriti. Culture is called Sanskriti. The word culture comes from Latin colere. The meaning is growing and cultivation. In Middle English, it meant cultivated piece of land, but in India, it is called Sanskriti because it is based on the texts that are written in Sanskrit by the sages. We call them rishis, who were composing all these on the banks of rivers. Of such texts that they required. There was an open atmosphere. But for others. The trees are giving fruits, not for themselves, but for others. So, whatever they learned from the nature around them, that groomed their ideas, that inspired the philosophy of life, that inspired all kinds of arts, and even food, that whatever was available. Food is to nourish us, of course, but in India, there is something very special about food. There are specific rules to eat, that what kind of food can be eaten at what time of the day and how and in what combinations. And also, there are special rules for cooking and serving in different types of utensils, because there is a lot about food for health in India. And even if you go to a village, a person who has never gone to any school will have that knowledge. So, when we talk of heritage, it's mainly Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain. And not very far, going very far is Sikhism and others. When we talk of tangible heritage, then it is physical. It is only India in the world, a country that calls its land a mother. The word for our country is Bharat Mata, that is the mother India. All kinds of arts you can see are different from other countries. When we talk of performing arts, dance, music, and drama, when we talk of visual arts, there is architecture, sculpture, painting, vastu, and many others. When we talk of visual arts, then first of all, whosoever talks about India, whosoever learns about India, he talks about temples. I must tell you that temples are built not merely for offering prayers, But there are many reasons of building temples. There is a lot of science and technology behind it. There's a lot of philosophy behind it. And some temples are even meant for curing certain diseases. That is why there are special rules for entering a temple. When we talk of intangible heritage, philosophical, intellectual, ethical, aesthetical, spiritual, scientific, health related, and so on. When we talk of culture, when we say this man, this human being is cultured, then we talk about his refinement in his personality, overall personality, the way he behaves, the way he lives, the balance of intellect and elegance of manners. In India and in every main cultures, there is an inherent emphasis on intellectual and spiritual aspects of culture. In India, spirituality and science, they were always in harmony, not in contradiction. They are different from the cultures that are developed. Indian culture is different. All the cultures that are developed on the banks of the rivers, they are different from the cultures that are developed in the deserts. So, the definition of culture is not fixed, it cannot be absolute. It gives space to localism. Asians have a history, cultural history of several centuries, more than 2 millennia. They have their own native grandeur. When Indian culture crossed the boundaries of India, then many countries shifted from building tombs to temples. In temples, you will see that there is an interrelationship. A temple, you can say, is a form of architecture. There are so many types of temples all over India. And some temples, now the scientists are working on them, that how those people more than 1,000 years ago, how they built those temples. Because even if you want to build such temples today with all the scientific and technical tools, it is not possible to build them. When you enter a temple, there is an idol, there is a statue to be worshipped, there are paintings all around on the walls. The base of the basic architecture of a temple is based on the philosophy, certain kind of philosophy, and these temples serve the social cause. They are also intellectual centers. Even dance and music, they were meant for offering to the divine. The language that the Indian developed is called Sanskrit. Sanskrit has two main forms. One is the Sanskrit of the Vedas. When were the Vedas written? 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, it is not fixed, but they are the earliest literary texts of the world. The Sanskrit language of the Vedas is different from the Ramayana language, Sanskrit language that is used in Ramayana, in Mahabharata, and other texts. What Sanskrit gave us? It gave us thousands and thousands of texts. In China, when Buddhism reached, more than 3,000 Sanskrit texts were translated into Chinese. When Buddhism reached Tibet, they translated over 5,000 texts, and the same number can be found in Mongolia also. Now I come to the point that when we began to develop the Indian culture, how our forefathers developed them. They looked at the sky as a father. They looked at the mother below as mother. So it was mother and father in the Vedic times. what the idea, how the Indian culture is nurtured for caring for nature. It is from this idea. So they decided, they thought, they preached that live with a feeling of sacrificing for others and not exploiting them. When they looked up to the sky as a father, so there was a sense of veneration. And that sense of veneration looking up gave rise to transcendental values and faith in the divine power. When you have faith in the divine power, then you save others, then you save yourself from evil acts. And those ought values that protects a human being to do wrong, to do bad, is called dharma. One's life, this is how is nurtured and nourished by the ideals of selflessness. In Indian culture, we believe that whosoever is born on this earth is born with a divine spark. Everybody has that divine spark in his heart. So that is the most democratic way of thinking and behaving. Another very important aspect of life is studying, is knowledge. In India, knowledge was meant for enlightening the minds, it was not meant for making minting money. There are the same types of ideas and ideals nurtured by the most learned and a village person who has never gone to any formal education. So, how the life in India begins? It begins early morning before the rising, before the sun rises in the sky. We believe that when you rise with the rising sun, then you get the solar power, you get the solar energy, you get the divine power. There are certain mantras that often Indians chant. First of all, they look at their hands and chant a mantra. That means that everything, all kinds of power lies in your hands, means you have to work hard, virtuously. They say, Asato ma sadgamaya, may I be led from untrue to truthfulness. May I be led to light from darkness. May I be led from death to immortality. There are certain prayers that are offered to sun, to the rising sun. When we offer these prayers, we do not demand anything. We say surrender yourself to the power, to the divine power. You must have known about Indian way of life that on certain occasions there are many festivals. There are some fixed dates when people go to take a dip in cold water in the rivers. I'm not going into the details of this, but it is very good for health. Visiting a temple means you receive energy. Temples, especially the central sanctorum, is a place that is full of energy. When you visit a temple, you can feel that energy. But when we go to a temple, we don't eat before it. When we go for a pilgrimage, we don't eat in the morning before offering prayers. There are certain festivals when we first, fasting is the most important. So, fasting is important. Hungry, your body is ready to absorb the divine energy. There is a great variety of deities that are worshipped in India in anthropomorphic forms. Actually, people ask many questions that how somebody can have a number of hands or a number of heads. Actually, they are not human beings, they are divine energies portrayed in an anthropomorphic form to understand the energy. In early times, in Vedic times, we did not give any forms to these deities, but later, with time, we developed a number of deities. Whatever we need in our life, we need education, we need intellect, we need money, we need power. Power can be administrative power, it can be political power. So all these three together are worshipped as three different deities. They are manifestations of intellectual power, of financial power, and also of administrative, political power, military power, etc. They are called Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Durga. In all homes, we have small altars, and we often offer prayers to them to get pure knowledge, pure money, and pure power. Purity is the most important. In India, we worship three more deities that are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is supposed to be the creator, Vishnu is the sustainer, and Shiva as a power that pervades everything. He helps things to go back to its source so that the whole world again and again can go back and take birth again. There are a number of other deities to serve different purposes of the secular world, to fulfill their different kinds of aspirations with a sense of purity. Purity is the most important. I talk a little bit about temples. Devotion and contemplation inspired humanity to think that there is something beyond the material world. It created abodes of the divine to contemplate, to elevate one's heart and mind, to transcend this physical world where we live with hunger, with desires, with greed. They are meant to offer prayers for receiving blessings and well being of ourselves and for others. Temples are places in India where people go to serve the poor, and that meritorious deeds are called punya. It is a part of our life to take care of the poor, to take care of all those who are in need. They are for surrendering the self, to leave the ego. Anybody who enters a temple, he leaves his ego behind outside the temple. When you enter a temple and offer prayers and surrender yourself, your mind becomes calm. You receive peace. You are inspired to do virtues in life. You are inspired to respect everybody. When you enter a temple, everybody, whether poor or rich, whether he has a very high status or not, everybody is respected equally. And it is a place that inspires us to protect the values, the traditions. They strengthen our inner self. They developed as centers of learning, arts, dedication to society, meeting people, chanting prayers, offering rituals, and so on and on. The scientific temples, the scientific aspect of building these temples is almost forgotten. Very few people know about it today. If you come to India and ask about the science behind, there are not many people who can answer you. All the temples are places of divine energy. Many ancient temples are built on ley lines on the earth, energy lines on the earth, where there is very special energy. When they come from the two directions, vertically and horizontally, when they meet at a point, and that point becomes a center of energy, and there is built the central centrum. And that is why when we offer some food to the deity, then it is called prasada, means it receives energy, and small quantities of prasad, the food that is offered, can be distributed to anybody, and people receive it with great reverence. So they can be all over the world you can see different types of temples built by different people, even the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Jews, the Italians, in Europe, everywhere. In Japan you can see Shinto shrines, in China, everywhere there are so many types of temples. In India, like India, Chinese also have a large number of cave temples. So these temples became, we call them mandir. They slowly became centers of social upliftment. The word temple in English, it comes from the Latin word tempus. They all involve with faith and function, although there are different forms all over Asia. I'm not going into the details. When you enter a temple, you can see there are grand gates and there are outermost walls or enclosures that mark the point of interface between the sacred and the profane world. That keeps you away from the daily routine, the chaos outside. A temple can be a small, simple thatched roof or a hut, or it can be an ornately decorated, splendid, big, huge building built by a royal family. But they serve the same purpose. Every day, one can see countless souls visiting the temples, getting solace, satisfaction, transcendence, inner peace, and above all, experience meeting the divine. Temple is a place where nobody wants to do anything wrong. So I think I just skip this. I can share this later on because maybe we don't have so much of time. I come to certain ideas. A lot has been talked all over the world about femininity in India. Femininity in India has always been adored as a creative power. There is a beautiful shloka. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. That means that mother is so divine that it has the power of creation, and still she creates a purna, a complete, but still she remains complete. Femininity is worshipped in many divine forms. So I just again skip this. Now I come to knowledge part. Knowledge in India, there are different levels of knowing things. One is information that we are every day flooded with from internet. Another is knowledge. Then when we learn something, then it becomes wisdom when it is combined with ought values. In India, it is believed that knowledge is meant for enlightening the minds. Here I'm showing you a beautiful calligraphy where the first letter of Indian alphabet called Devanagari is written by a Japanese calligrapher, because it is the beginning, because being the first letter, it is the beginning of all kinds of knowledge. The knowledge has to be pure. So, as a symbol of purity, it is placed on a lotus. And it has a halo around it to represent that it is the knowledge has to be divine. And below this, there is again a lotus, and then there is a thunderbolt. Thunderbolt represents power. That knowledge has to be pure but also powerful. We, the people of India, have been adoring the mountains, the sky, the water. We go to many pilgrimage places. We have believed in the changing moods. Many trees have medicinal values. All those trees are worshipped in India. There are certain festivals that are meant for worshiping certain kinds of trees. We visit many places on mountain tops. The Mount Kailasha is the center of the universe. It's the most important place of pilgrimage. Although it's difficult to visit that place. In India, we believe if you go for a pilgrimage, but in India, when you go to any temple, you will see astounding images of the divine are sculpted in metal, clay, stone, or wood. We call product. We don't worship them. The scientific reason behind it is that metal, clay, and wood both the epics give messages of upliftment in the society, of serving the society. So to all over Asia, because of being the great epics accepted by them, internalized by them. There are certain characters of Ramayana that are individually also worshipped, and Hanuman is one of them. Here you can see a painting of Hanumana who is carrying a piece of mountain. It is a story in the Ramayana that when Lakshmana was hit by an arrow, then Hanuman goes to Himalaya mountain, but he could not understand which herb is required to heal him. Then he brings a piece of mountain to cure Lakshmana. There are many temples all over India dedicated to Hanuman as a god, as a powerful god who gives you energy, who gives you a sense of selfless dedication. Here I'm showing you a few images of Ganesha. Ganesha is the one who has been worshipped. First of all, when we begin anything, when we begin any prayer, when we begin any ritual, any ceremony, first thing is Ganesha. So Ganesha has manifested in many forms depending on the requirement of the devotee. Here you can look at two different aspects, two different forms contradicting to each other. Here is a dancing Ganapati, Ganesha. Ganesha is also called Ganapati. And here is a Ganesha who is sitting on a seat made of skulls. So that Ganesha was worshipped by an Indonesian king to win a war. So winning a war, one has to worship not a dancing Ganesha, because you get energy by worshipping. This is what we believe. Here are two different more. There are so many forms of Ganesha. Here I show you some more forms of, here are a few forms of Brahma. Brahma is the creator. He manifests in many different forms all over India and in many other countries. When we talk of culture, art plays an important role. You can paint Hanuman in this form, or you can have this. Here you can see leather puppet of Hanuman. There are dolls of Hanuman. There's the painting of Hanuman. These two are from Thailand. When we talk about the basic architecture are certain similarities and there are certain dissimilarities, different styles and techniques used in temple building. But the main the basic idea is the same, that you have a foundation of the temple. Then this part of the temple, it includes a hall, it includes the sanctum sanctorum. This is the middle part where idols are enshrined and walls are painted, or they are decorated differently. And there is, then it is the upper part. There can be many forms of this upper part. This upper part is called shikhara, and there is a lot of philosophy behind it. I'm sorry that in this small time I cannot explain all this to you, but wherever the Indian styles, wherever Indian culture reached, it inspired similar styles of temple building. Here is Shiva and Parvati. Shiva and Parvati are they represent the feminine and the masculine power, the balance between the two powers. If you go to any museums, there are many museums in Asia, there is many museums all over the world where you can see such beautiful figures. I am showing you especially this figure to show you how beautifully they were carved, what kind of clothes are they wear, what kind of jewelry do they wear, what kind of hairdo or crowns do they have, and how beautifully they are sculpted. When we talk of Buddhism, in Buddhism, there are hundreds and hundreds of gods and goddesses who are worshipped. Here is one of them. This is a goddess of good luck. Here is a goddess, very that I'm showing you from China, because China, Indian culture has so much in China that is absorbed, and not only absorbed but also developed by them. Here, when we sit for offering prayers, we offer five main things. That is that those are flowers, the incense, and pushpa dhupa deep and Naivedya. Some food. So here she is bringing a garland to be offered to a deity from the heaven. We have always been worshipping the footprints, whether it can be a footprint of Buddha or any other deity. Here you can see a wheel on the footprint, and there are other signs also. If you go to countries like Thailand, they have done very sculpted. Buddhist temples are built differently, like the Hindu temple is a beautiful world full of paintings all over the walls. There are beautiful statues there, and in most of these temples, you can see that the statues are placed inside the glass cupboards. When you enter, there are a number of cave temples. Ajanta and Ellora are known to the world. So that is why I thought, let me show you one painting from the Ajanta caves, how they are embellished, the walls are embellished. When you visit a Buddhist monastery or a temple, then you can see a number of stupas there. These stupas are meant for preserving the relics of the great teachers, the masters, to offer them prayers, to venerate them, to adore them. In India, there is a tradition of offering fire ritual that is called yajna. There are many forms of yajnas, many forms of fire rituals, and there are many reasons behind. We used to build, and even now people build or arrange bricks in a very special way, depending on what kind of yajna are you going to perform. There are special herbs. Sometimes, yeah, this fire ritual is performed curing people from diseases. So different special kinds of herbs are offered to fire. Lighting lamps is a very important part of Indian lives. Whenever we do anything sacred, anything special, whenever there are festivals, we offer lit lamps. Every day in our small shrines at home, we lit a small lamp with using oil. Here you can see just a scene of offering lamps on the banks of the river. Dance, Indian dances are often popular all over the world. They look so different. Their technique is different. Their styles are different. The way of dressing, everything is different. Dance actually began as an offering to the divine inside a temple. There are many forms all over India, in different parts of India, but surrendering the self has always been important in Indian dance and music. It is a confluence of dance, drama, and music. Here you can see how vibrantly the two dancers are dancing, playing music, and also singing. You can feel the force. Here you can see how a dancer is offering her art to a deity. His name is Lord Jagannatha. A dance can be a production focusing on peace and harmony. It can be meant for relating some stories, or it can depict many forms, manifestations of different deities. It can represent the stories of their related to them, or the dance can be to inspire people to learn the beauty of life, to live with harmony, with friendship, with the sense of sacrifice. So there were a special kind of genre in our narrative folk performances that people used to go from village to village without any formal stage. They were just meeting people overnight and telling them, inspiring them to imbibe virtue, to do good to others. When we talk of intellectual culture, we have to talk about the Vedas. After Vedas come the Upanishads, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata. There are many, many texts on grammar. Many of them are lost in India forever, but they are found in translated forms. The best grammar, that the most popular grammar of Sanskrit is by Panini. Medicine itself was a great science and it still survives. I myself is a follower of traditional medicine of India that is called Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a complete science, and during this period of pandemic, I organized many webinars. Invited many top Ayurvedic experts, and they gave their presentations about the protocol of saving people from COVID, and all of them. I talked to many of them, and the hundreds and hundreds of Ayurvedic experts. They treated thousands of people, but none of their patients died. None of the Ayurvedic experts died. Nobody had to go for any hospitalization. So it's a great science. Yoga, is all about now, is quite popular. So there were many kinds of sciences. I'm not going into the details like metallurgy and other sciences. When we perform a ritual to a person who doesn't know about Indian traditions, for him it sounds strange. He finds a few things strange. But I must tell you that and spirituality were in combination in India. They were not in contradiction. When we chant the mantras, they have special power. There are people, I have met a scholar who has done a PhD on the power of mantras, that which mantra should be chanted to get what kind of energy. There are people who have studied and also written about the impact of music. Different types of music is can also cure many diseases. There are many types of offering prayers that can be, it can be done individually or it can be done in groups, but there is a flow of energy. Performing fire ritual, I have already talked about, but I'm not going into details. It can be for cleansing atmosphere, that is very important. Balancing rain, there were specially ceremonies organized for crowning the kings and even winning wars. Hindu festivals are also new to the world. When I look at them, I see that these festivals fill colors in our lives. Celebrate, we celebrate seasonal changes through festivals, show way to receive the cosmic energy. I can send you a list of some festivals, important festivals, why they are celebrated that in that particular way. So some are meant for helping the needy through giving, to donating the important items that are required in that particular season. Celebrating certain historical events like the victory of Rama. So this kind of, there are many types of festivals. So but they have a very um, they have an important, you can say, importance in our lives. They are sometimes they are related to agriculture also. With time, only a few are being celebrated all over India in different ways, in different styles, dancing, singing, enjoying food, but fasting and surrendering the self and sacrificing with devotion and reverence to gain cosmic energy, to maintain the fabric of the society, with the faith in the presence of the omnipresent and all pervading divine that shines, is very important in our festivals. We don't just drink and eat, it's a combination of all. They are meant for individual enjoyment, but also for collective consciousness, getting together, sharing joys of life with others. So I have a list, but I don't think how much time do I have. A list of important festivals I can send you later on. And
Professor,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I can understand. So,
Yes, because
so now I
our
finished.
time is
Maybe
our
in two
time is
minutes.
over.
Okay, okay.
Maybe
So I
maybe
just wind up.
few minutes, maybe few
Yeah,
minutes you can
yeah,
uh, finish. And
yeah, sure.
I wish to ask you something about presentation. Can you
Okay,
send
sure.
the wonderful
Sure.
presentation to me
Yeah,
and I
sure.
will share with my
Yeah,
students?
yeah, we will do that. I'll send you the recording also. So, Bhagavad Gita, Professor Tatiana knows very well. She has done wonderful work on Bhagavad Gita. So, the concept of universalism is there in our philosophy, in our philosophical texts. So, many ideas and ideas we have derived from the texts that are written by our forefathers, and that has developed the distinct identity of Indians with the cultural identity of India. Of course, of all countries is different. So we also have our different distinct cultural identity, and most important is the text written in Sanskrit, from which we derive all ideas in philosophy, and that is why it is called Sanskriti. So, with these words, I thank you all again. I thank Professor Tatiana Bujanovic,
Thank you.
thank the university, thank the faculty, thank the department. Thank you.
Thank you very much for wonderful lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All the best. It's my honor. Bye.
Thank you. I hope I was slow enough to make
Yes,
things clear.
yes, it's great. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
See you sometime later.
Bye.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.